Hello.
Elizabeth, we are so happy you are here with us. I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share a little about who you are, your background, and what led you into church interpreting and deaf ministry.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Elizabeth. This is my sign name. And I became saved when I was 4 years old. And then I started picking up ASL when I was in high school. It was my foreign language credit in school. And I was so fascinated with the idea of a visual language. And my teacher at the time was a Christian interpreter herself. And she actually taught at the college level of an interpreting program. And then she just had this one-time class that she offered for high school students. And I was part of that class. But she told us that only 2% of deaf people knew Jesus. And I was 14, but I thought, how is that possible? There's so many churches here in America. How is it only 2% of the deaf community knows Jesus? And so I started talking to the Lord and being like, are you talking to me? Am I supposed to be involved in this? I don't know what that looks like, but I will obey whatever you tell me to do. And so he told me to start learning the language first. So I found a college that had an interpreting program, and it was also a Bible college. And I felt that that was a good fit for me, both of the things that I love so much, sign language and Jesus. And once I got into it, I realized the profession was really strict about not sharing my faith. And I was conflicted about that. I asked the Lord what to do. And as a professional interpreter, I had to remain neutral, but I felt at odds with things. There's still deaf people out there that don't know you, Lord. And he told me just continue to pick up the language, continue to meet deaf people. So after a while, I asked him, when am I going to do something that has to do with you, Lord? Something directly related to you. And so I was interpreting at a church already, but at the time the church was very small. I think there were about 7 deaf that attended the church. And I was one of only 2 interpreters, which came with a lot of responsibility. When we moved to a new state, when we moved to Texas, my biggest prayer was, Lord, please don't let me be the only interpreter or one of 2 interpreters in ministry ever again. Period. I refuse to do that. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for the deaf community to only depend on one interpreter. It's just not a healthy situation. So we found a church that has several interpreters that are all very high quality, and a lot of deaf people who are involved with ministry and Bible translation. They're trained pastors. And I had never seen this before. This is so rare to find deaf people that passionate about the Lord in a church. And so I felt like this was an answer to prayer of what I was praying when I was 14, trying to figure out what this looks like with ASL. And the Lord just guided me through this journey. And a long time, I didn't have an opportunity to talk about my faith with any deaf people, with anyone within my career. But finally, I had this opportunity to use my experience as an interpreter to help the church understand why some things are important and to help the deaf community understand why the church is doing some things. So I was able to kind of mediate those situations, and I could start to understand why the Lord did some of that and how he prepared me.
What makes interpreting in church unique?
Yes, it's really unique, especially the vocabulary. That's a big part of it. The vocabulary is really different. And a lot of times in interpreting training programs, you don't go over like books of the Bible, characters in the Bible, how to sign crucifixion, like things like that are not usually taught. Even in English, if you don't go to church, you don't know a lot of that vocabulary. So you need to be a Christian, and then you also need to be around deaf people who know the signs for a lot of those things. And that can be a big challenge, especially in ministry with interpreters, trying to find where are the Christian interpreters. There's very few. It feels like there's very few interpreters that know the Lord. And then I tell my interpreters all the time at my church, I try to encourage them with, you are talking to the same God that the pastor's talking with. You're having a conversation with the Lord while you're working just like he is. You can ask him for the wisdom to be able to interpret well, to understand where the pastor is going. Maybe the pastor goes away from the notes. You can still ask the Lord for help and for support in navigating that interpreting. And it's amazing. I remember the first 2 years or so that I was here in Texas, I was getting used to our pastor. And it was a pretty big church, so it's a little nerve-wracking getting in front of all those people to interpret. But anyway, I was progressing through all of that, getting used to the processing and how to work with this pastor. And I just remember getting at church, and I would arrive continually exhausted. I don't know why, but I would just get to church so exhausted, no energy. And week after week, I would ask the Lord, please give me the energy that I need to get through this. And please make my interpreting not me, but let it be you. Please be clear through my signs. Help me with my processing. Help me get the energy to be able to keep up with the pastor. And every time I felt like the Lord just took over when I started interpreting because I was willing. I invited him into the process of interpreting, and he gave me a miracle every week. I would come in exhausted, but I would feel like I was on top of it when I was interpreting. And that is him. I couldn't have done that by myself. There's not enough coffee in the world to be able to fix how exhausted I was. It was really him taking over. And I've seen him do miracle after miracle and show up in really big ways personally, even through interpreting.
How can interpreters serve well while honoring deaf ownership, autonomy, leadership, and healthy boundaries?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, especially for leadership, I think God gives beautiful gifts to both hearing and deaf people. And so, if a deaf person has a passion for something, is really wanting to set something up in a church, set up a group, something like that, interpreters must pay attention to that. God is working, He's doing something. And as much as possible, open friendships, introduce deaf people with hearing church members who could walk alongside them. Because as an interpreter, I believe that's our responsibility to introduce and say, hey, hearing church member, learn ASL. Deaf people, can you teach a class? Something to help bridge that gap. And that's something I'm trying to do right now with my church. I'm trying to encourage them to take down this language barrier just a little bit. And even people on stage, the leadership, if they come over and they say hello, they sign something basic to the ASL community that really impacts them. They feel, oh, you actually want me here, and we're connected somehow. And that naturally, I think, leads to deaf people thinking, oh, I can do this, I can lead, I can be involved. So I think that's a beginning place. And of course, yes, interpreters will still be involved after that for more in-depth meetings and things like that, but just opening basic communication and introducing people to develop friendships. Hopefully that means later, maybe discipleship can form, maybe more in-depth training with deaf leaders can form. That's the hope and the vision. So first of all, pray, as an interpreter especially. It can feel like we are constantly reminding both sides and encouraging both sides. And it can feel kind of exhausting sometimes having repeated conversations, but asking the Lord, where's your focus right now? Who can we introduce to the deaf community? Who can we have conversations with people who want to learn ASL, and trying to see where he guides for those conversations to happen.
This is a hot take. What are your thoughts on whether a church interpreter should be paid or volunteer? Or does it depend?
Yes, this is a really hot topic right now. Absolutely. In my opinion, yes, it depends. It depends on your church size a little bit, because for bigger churches, I think they should pay interpreters. If your lighting specialist is paid, then the interpreter should be paid, because both of those positions require a lot of experience, certifications, degrees, all sorts of things like that. So they should be paid. In my opinion, if it's a volunteer position, that means anyone can go in and do that job, and that should be free. But with interpreting, interpreters go through so much training, and it depends on the interpreter as well. If it's just someone who learns sign language from the deaf people in church, they're not certified, they don't have a lot of skill, then I think volunteering is appropriate. If it's an interpreter who has a degree, certification, a lot of years of experience, then they should be paid. That's their job. And they have paid a lot of money for that education, certification, and degree. So often I think it's with deaf ministries in general, I think that's kind of an appropriate approach. If the worship leader on stage is being paid, then the interpreter should be paid. If it's a small church that doesn't have a budget and pretty much everyone is volunteering, then yes, I think it's appropriate to be a volunteer interpreter. So again, ask the Lord first. And I can't even describe to you the difference between my old church and my current church, because this is about interpreter health. Interpreters can be involved in other things, because if we don't have enough internal interpreters to cover something, we have a budget to be able to contract out interpreters. The budget's already there, and that's huge. If we need to say no because life happens, we can still remain healthy, and we can still know that our deaf ministry is provided for and will remain healthy. And it's not only dependent on the members of the church. Deaf people are not dependent on us all the time for everything. And that's rare, but that's the difference between paid or not paid interpreters within the church. And it's a big responsibility if you're doing everything for free. If you say no, then you might not be able to get a high quality certified interpreter. If it's paid, then you can continue to see a healthy ministry because you can contract out when you need to. So it leads to a lot of health for interpreters, and it makes a really big impact.
Yes, that is such an important point you touched on, that we need to serve from a place of spiritual health. When we are spiritually nourished, we can lead and serve others well. But if we're spiritually depleted, it becomes much harder.
Yes. And I also wanted to mention that, of course, not all churches can pay interpreters, and I'm aware of that. But I would encourage any hearing church to think about the impact of your budget for the deaf ministry and what that impact is, because the impact for healthy interpreters means a healthier deaf community. And if you only have 2% of deaf people that know Jesus, the impact is huge if you're investing in the deaf people that are at your church, the impact for the world. So it's really worth praying over and asking the Lord where the priority for your budget should be, and if it can be with the deaf ministry. And I've seen it myself. It is so worth it to invest in that ministry and invest in the deaf community. And yes, we ask for a lot. We ask for special lighting. We ask, because it's a 3D language, special seating so we can sit close so everyone can see the interpreter and the pastor and the worship team and everyone. So we do ask for a lot, but please, I encourage you, Hearing Church, be patient with us. Know that there's a reason behind everything. We're not trying to be difficult. We're trying to be respectful and just be patient when we're asking for budget, because there's a good reason behind that too. It means a healthier church if we pay our interpreters.
What is your ideal perfect church?
My ideal church would be a church with many deaf men and women and children who are passionate and want to lead and who want to grow spiritually, want to be involved in discipleship. That's something that is kind of rare from what I've seen. So I think it's beautiful when people understand that deaf people have so many unique skills that are valuable and needed in our church. They can serve in our church, and that's healthy. That's how God designed us. Same with Spanish ministry. They have skills as well, and it's important for the church to use those skills and those gifts. So for Hearing Church with the deaf ministry, it's so important to partner together. They can't be separate all the time. We need unity. We're called to be one body, a body with different parts, yes, but still one body. And that applies to having deaf ministry in a hearing church too.
What's one thing you wish every church member, both hearing and deaf, understood about interpreters?
About interpreters, I wish that every church member understood how challenging the job of interpreting is. I think it's really easy for deaf people to look at an interpreter and make snap judgments on if we make a mistake or if we're not skilled because maybe we don't have the experience yet. Maybe it's a new interpreter. They can be very quick to judge if we're not qualified or they don't like us or whatever the reason is, or we don't like your personality. There's so many reasons to make quick judgments on interpreters. And interpreters were brave enough to get in front of you. So I would say we go through so much training, and this job is so hard. And I wish more deaf people in general could understand how challenging it is to hear one language, process it, switch the sentence structure, and get it out your hands while you're still listening to what's coming next. You literally have two languages happening at the same time in your brain. And it is such hard work to be able to have both languages simultaneously in your brain. It's not easy, especially when you're trying to match the spirit of the speaker, trying to match their tone, trying to catch any cultural context that might be there, or this word sounds like this word, and that's why it's a joke. And you have to explain that to a deaf audience while you're still listening to what's coming next. So it's a really tough job. And I wish more deaf people understood that, and I wish more hearing people understood that it's not easy. We have a lot of hearing people that come over and say, oh, it's so beautiful. I love watching you sign. My brother's, cousins, whatever, is deaf, and I wish I knew sign language. And that's part of this, having a conversation with people, especially higher up in a church, letting them know that it's a tough job. And we care so much and we love our deaf community so much. And that's why we try to advocate for something and just to let them know there's a reason behind it. This is a tough job and we have a reason behind it. So that's something that I do wish all deaf and hearing church members, I hope they know that we care, and that's the reason we're here. That's the reason that we work so hard to become as skilled as we can at our jobs, because we care. So have grace for our mistakes, have grace for us advocating hard for specific things.
We are very grateful for all you do for them.
And also, for all the interpreters out there, it's an honor. We need to remind ourselves often that being able to serve in this way, interpreting what the Lord is saying, what the pastor is saying, what is happening in worship, that's such a huge honor. And sometimes I'm still like, wow, Lord, you trusted me with this. And it feels really heavy at times because if I make a mistake, that means that I'm taking away sometimes access to the Lord. And that's really heavy work. I also feel like it's important when interpreters are interpreting in a deaf ministry. That means that you care. It also means that you need to continue developing your skills. If you care, and if the Lord has called you to do this work, you need to continue to improve yourself and improve your skills always. Go to workshops, talk with the deaf community, socialize with them, continue to build your language base. That's so important. It's so important. If you care for the deaf community in your church, you need to continue to improve yourself always in your skill as an interpreter. One thing the Lord has really been working on me about, and this applies to both deaf and hearing leadership in the church, is pride. Pride will completely ruin a ministry. And I've seen this happen several times in the past. Pride is often looks like not being willing to work together with anyone, wanting to do everything yourself. It can look like being very easily offended. It can look like assuming the worst of other people, and that's something that I'm actually personally working on right now. It's so easy to assume why someone did something, but my church leadership recently reminded me, hey, we assume the best of each other in this church. That's what a healthy church does. And so that's been a good reminder for me as well. But I've noticed that coincides with pride often. And so this attitude of I can do everything myself, I'm the only one who can do it well. And I've seen that completely mess up church ministries. Some church ministries that have an interpreter who's prideful, that refuses to collaborate with others and becomes the only interpreter at church and will continue to push other people away and refuses to partner with others. I've seen that happen. It's very sad. So pride has no place in leadership.
God doesn't mess with his house. If things are not in order, God can't bless that. So it's important to recognize when something is out of order and address it immediately before it continues to get worse and causes people to drift away.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we could go on and on about what it means to have a healthy deaf ministry. I know there are many challenges that come with it, but there are also so many things happening in deaf ministries that are worth talking about.
And that's something I would encourage any interpreter to do. Maybe if you're in the middle of a budget discussion or you're trying to partner with a hearing church, let them know, hey, there's a language barrier here. They don't see a lot of the amazing successes and celebrations that are happening. So you have to let them know and say, hey, this deaf person got saved, or this one wants to go into ministry, or something like that. Tell them the celebrations and the good things happening. Recently at my church, we had a celebration because our deaf community felt satisfied with their access. That's a huge celebration. That's kind of rare. And so being able to say that the church doesn't say no when they want to be involved in something, they say yes all the time. That's huge, and that's a big celebration. So I made it a point to let church leadership know about that. And the deaf too, let them know that leadership in the church is aware of the celebrations that are happening and what God is doing. You know, we need to tell them, and there needs to be that communication. And then later when you have to have harder discussions, that helps a lot. And my church is really unique just because I've noticed something that helps them be healthy is we also have 3 interpreters on the schedule every week. And I know that that's rare. A lot of interpreters do the whole thing by themselves. But typically that leads to a lot of exhaustion after worship. Your processing isn't going as well because you've been interpreting for so long. So we have 2 interpreters, hopefully a deaf interpreter for worship. If that's not possible, we have a hearing interpreter for worship, and then another interpreter for the sermon. Plus we have a volunteer interpreter who's not paid, who sits in the front and is just the team interpreter to support. They never get up front in front of people. They can wear bright colors, and that's totally fine, but they typically will sit as the volunteer interpreter. They're not paid, and that's just, they're there for support. And we notice that's a really healthy system just because the hearing interpreter who's doing the sermon then doesn't have to feed the deaf interpreter during worship. If they're signing the whole time during worship, feeding the deaf interpreter, and then they come up and interpret for the entire sermon, that means they're already kind of exhausted. Their energy is a lot lower. Processing can go downhill. So, as much as possible, we try to have 3 interpreters on the schedule. And I know that's a rare situation, but if you have a big enough team, I would encourage you to do that. It means you're on the schedule more often, but the product of interpreting is a lot higher quality.
Do hearing church members tend to come up to you after a sermon and compliment your interpreting, and then don't really mingle with the deaf ministry? How do you typically respond to this?
Yes, yes, it does happen. And I think that's more of they don't know how to communicate and they feel kind of awkward about it. And so often they'll come over and say, "Hey, how do I learn sign language? Where do I learn that?" And what I've been doing is saying, "If you're interested in learning sign language, we're hoping to start a class soon. Can you write down your email address for me?" With the goal of hopefully building a bridge so that they can be involved in the community later. If I have a deaf person that I know is really friendly and funny and they're staying close to me, I'll say, "Hey, you can actually ask them how to sign whatever it is they're asking." If they ask me, like, "How do you sign this one thing? How do I spell my name?" Something like that. Then I'll say, "Oh, this person can show you how. Would you mind showing them how to sign their name?" So either one of those I think are good options, but as an interpreter, that's a big control thing. So I don't want to gatekeep ever. And we do have a spotlight on us. We're easy to see. We're the interpreter. And that's great. But I would say if it's a 99-year-old woman coming over and saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful when you interpret," I can say thank you, and that's enough just to say thank you. But if it's someone who's actually interested in being involved, that's when I want to introduce them to the deaf community and get them connected.
I hope people watching this get a glimpse of the process interpreters go through and how much thought, preparation, flexibility, and heart they invest behind the scenes of deaf ministry.
Yes, we love our deaf community, and we also need to remember that we're human. We're Christians we make mistakes. We're still learning. And so just having so much grace for each other is so important in the body of Christ in general. And that's my encouragement for anyone watching. Have so much grace for deaf people, for hearing people, for interpreters. Have grace for each other. Love each other well. We're one body. And I think that's the most important thing that God has called us to do is love each other well.
Amen and amen. This was such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time and sharing your heart and experience.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to have this conversation. I really enjoyed this.
And to everyone watching, whether you're deaf, hearing, interpreting, leading, or simply learning deaf culture and deaf ministry, our prayer is the Deaf Churchware platform becomes a place where you are seen, belonged, valued, and invited to fully participate in the life of the church. If you haven't already checked out deafchurchware.com, we encourage you to do so. You can discover resources available on our resource page, explore the map to find deaf-led churches and interpreted services, and connect with a church in your sign language. We encourage you to be an active part of the body of Christ and see what God is doing in deaf communities around the world. We'll see you all next time on Deaf Church Chat.